Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, junashumme, washmale. Ohai gozaimasu, guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, suavia, balli kare aaya. Hosh gyal din anaya hosayo, and thank you very much everybody for tuning into PTV World. You're certainly watching World this morning alongside my very well learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. Happy to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well, that you're ready to kickstart your day and week with us. But first things first, hello Hajar, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for introducing me. So I think, that your flu is not that well, it has been quite some days, right?
It's true.
And I think someone was visiting museums and, had a very busy weekend. So, good
True.
for you. So it is sad about the museums, that they are not just the reflections of the past, but they also tell you how to act in the future too about that.
Exactly.
And coming back to it, so I was, feeling really intellectually very low on the weekend because I had some targets to set it, but unfortunately my laptop's battery wasn't working that much.
Yeah.
So I couldn't, do very much on it. But I think that is also an indicator that I need to change my battery.
And which is why, in addition to that, I actually have a very intellectually powerful statement to share with you, and I really need to know whether what you have to say about it.
Okay.
So imagine the quotation says that the history belongs to the victorious.
That's true.
What do you have to say about it?
That's really true because, the ones who are victor, they often get to write the history and they're the one who have intellectual hegemony on the history.
True.
And we always read their version of the history. So I'll tell you something.
Sure.
There's a lot of, Western intellectual hegemony going on, and we Muslims are facing, a collective Muslim amnesia. So we are very much aware with the Western political thinkers, with the Western political scientists, their philosophers. We are not that much aware about your own Muslim civilizational history. So I don't know, how many of amongst us are aware with the Ibn Sina, Farabi, Imam Ghazali, Hanfi, etc., etc., right? And there is, thought especially in the Europe that, we need to go beyond this Eurocentric version of it. But the problem with them is they do not have an alternative discourse. But I think we Muslims are lucky that we do have an alternative discourse. We have Iqbal, we have Sir Sayyid, we have a lot of, very rich history.
True.
So I think, we had enough of the, very
Monologue.
cross-pollination of ideas when coming to it. So now moving on to news, which is one of my favorite segment of this part. So you wanted to add something?
No, I didn't want you to add something, but I was like, okay, so I'm going to get started with the news too as well, and then you can follow up with the second one. So ladies and gentlemen, moving on, first up, the Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority has imposed a ban on broadcasting live speeches of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chairman Imran Khan on all satellite TV channels with immediate effect. The ban has been imposed under PEMRA Ordinance 2002, Section 27. In a statement, the PEMRA spokesman said that Imran Khan is levelling unfounded allegations against institutions in his speeches which can disrupt law and order. It said in his address to a protest rally at F9 Park in Islamabad, Imran Khan attempted to indict the people against institutions. The Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority has imposed a ban on broadcasting live speeches of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chairman Imran Khan on all satellite TV channels with immediate effect.
I guess we have all seen, how West outs the freedom of expression, but we have all seen very terroristic use of the freedom of expression,
True.
So I think we should be extremely careful with our words because I do feel with the social media and with the sort of, the wave that is going on nowadays, there is concerted effort of the de-responsibilitization. So you need to take responsibility of that. Moving on to our second news, which is about the Balochistan. So in Balochistan province, 18 people have died in Jafrabad, Gandaka and Usta Muhammad due to heavy rains during the last 24 hours. According to PDMA report, 3 people died and 1 injured in the Barkhan, while 350 were stranded families were rescued in Nasirabad. District Administration, Pakistan Army and Frontier Corps distributed 122 food packages among the flood affectees of Kili Hasni and Kili Ghulam Jan in Quetta, Awara and Laspela. Besides, 2 free medical camps were established in Laspela and Ruby. So I think, these are the effects of the climate change because we have seen a very erratic sort of, monsoon patterns where Balochistan or the southern part of the country was most affected, which is usually not the case when it comes to that.
But Hajra, in addition to that, I believe that people really need to be more careful because PDMA and NDMA has been on a very regular basis releasing advisories too as well.
Right.
And what happens is most of the time people to themselves start to think that okay, yeah, nothing's going to happen. Inshallah, Allah is going to be with us. But imagine people over here are doing a lot of research for your safety, for the safety of your livestock, your lives too as well.
Right.
So please make sure that you listen to them and that you cooperate with them, and that for a certain period of time, if you have to move or displace your family, I mean, please make sure that you do that so that you save yourself, your family, your lives, your livestock, and all of those belongings which are valuable to you.
Right. So moving on to our third part of the news, which is about a very lovely artist that we lost yesterday. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi rajiun. Nayyara Noor, one of the most accomplished singers in Pakistan, passed away in Karachi. The celebrated singer, also known as Bulbul-e-Pakistan, has been laid to rest in Karachi.
Known as the Bulbul-e-Pakistan, Nayyara Noor is known for her soulful voice and real simplicity for someone in entertainment world. She has recorded most memorable melodies and they are immortalized in PTV archives. Here there was Ibn Insha's Jale to Jalao Gori. There was also Roote Ho Tumko, Kaise Manaye Piya, sung for movie Aina. She was born in Assam, India, where she spent her early childhood before her family moved to Karachi in late 50s. With a great body of work already performed, Nayyara Noor's rendition of Faiz's poetry, Nayyara Sings Faiz, is probably the most known and celebrated of her work, which was produced in 1976 as a birthday gift for Faiz Ahmed Faiz.
जैसे वीरान चुपके से बाहर आ जाए, जैसे सहरा हौले से चले बादे नसीम, जैसे बीमार को बेवजह करार आ जाए.
She has won several awards during her career and was recipient of Pride of Performance. Anam Shehzad, PTV World News.
रूठे हो तुमको कैसे मनाऊं पिया.
To be very honest, ladies and gentlemen, this is a kind of a loss which will never be refilled too as well. And with Nayyara Noor Saiba, I believe that a part of my childhood has left too as well, because listening to all of these melodious songs which were sung by her too as well always made sense, gave us compassion and gave us this motivation towards our motherland too as well. And I believe that that feeling might not be around anymore, but her work is going to stay with us, which we will continue to cherish.
True, that's true, and I think that this is such a lovely golden lyrics that always will live on, because we still listen to that, and we become so good with that, feel so good about it. So Shahzad, so today we have someone in the studio who is gonna talk about the sensory integration
Yes.
and the activities of the daily living
skills, yeah.
living skills, right? So what is ADLS, and what is sensory integration, and how there's a segment of the society who needs to who needs such kind of people who are working on it, and how can we further enlighten the people about such kind of activities. So we really wanted to introduce our guest first, who happens to be Dr. Sobia Adnan, and she is a behavior consultant. So assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you so much.
And I believe that today's show is actually important for all of those mothers who have been telling their kids, their putar baaz aa jao, tumhe sharam nahi aati hai, kaisi harkatein kar rahe ho tum.
Right.
So I think for all of those parents who are out there and who've been struggling with parenting too as well, obviously it can or probably be your problem specifically, but if it comes down to children and why they're behaving the certain way, that's what we are discussing today as well. So ma'am, first of all, assalamu alaikum, please do let us know what are we talking about, what is ADLS and what is sensory integration.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Allah ka shukar, alhamdulillah, dua hai aap.
Thank you so much. Basically, the sensory integration is all about the knowledge which we get from our senses.
Okay.
All our 5 senses now, it's 2 more, temperature and balance is also,
Yeah.
but it's a debate.
Really?
But what we are providing, all the data is all through all our 5 senses. Nowadays, mobile is one of the, I cannot say that we should stop that for kids, but when the child is sitting and using mobile and not using his body, so he is not giving tactile knowledge to
Right.
the brain. Tactile knowledge is all that what we learn from the sense of touch.
Right.
Okay.
Tactile learning, that is very, very important. Sense of touch, our feet, movements,
Right.
fine motors, gross motors. Fine motors which we learn from our small muscles.
Right.
Gross motor which we learn from our bigger muscles. But nowadays we are not providing our kids the opportunity to use those muscles.
Right.
If the muscles are not giving, they are not providing data to the brain, how can brain respond?
Right. That's true.
The brain is relaxed, nothing to do with
I
this.
think that's what we want. That's most of the people want in their life. They want to have a relaxed brain.
Yeah, all the
Because
time.
Because
All
that's what the brain does. It starts to overthink, and then
Yes.
that's where you get anxiety too
Anxiety.
as well.
But what is sad about it, if you do not use one particular thing about it, then it starts to get rusting,
Yes.
right?
True.
So
Yes.
that's go with the brain thing
Yes,
too.
of course, if the anxiety, bipolar, and all the behaviors, but in my experience,
Right.
in our culture, the problem starts mostly parents. When alarm
Yeah.
is teenage,
Right.
Okay.
when they are having problem with the siblings,
Right.
with the parents,
Right.
and all that. But what I have in my experience,
Right, right.
when the child is too small, we are so much giving attention and pampering the child,
Right.
not allowing we don't allow the child
Right.
to do anything. Okay, nee,
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it.
छोटे
बहुत छोटा है, बहुत छोटा।
बहुत
बच्चा
छोटा
है
है।
यार, अभी
No,
क्या
no.
कर रहे?
जब बच्चा बहुत छोटा है, he is very small, he is
Right.
crying
Right.
for milk, so he can.
Right.
Exactly. So I think what you're trying to say over here is that just because of the use of the cell phone, what we're doing is that we're not really watering the fields inside our brain too as well. वो त्रौंका नहीं लगाते सब्जियों को छिटा मारने ज़रा ताज़ा रहने के लिए. So I think that's what the concept is. But why do you think that for a kid who was getting all the attention, when they were growing up, and obviously they need attention, but in teenagers, what I've seen is that the kids themselves start to isolate, because they certainly cannot have those conversations over cell phone in front of parents, the way they want to plan things. So, they isolate themselves, and then how do you think that it is fair enough to come back and say or complain to your parents that you haven't been giving me enough time? Because the opportunity is there, for all of that tactical information to be inside our brain. The opportunity is always there, but it's their first choice to use the cell phone. It's not the parents' problem that they have been doing that.
Sir, freedom is power.
Freedom is power.
Freedom is power. So what we as a parent do is we are giving them everything, but according to
But
our
not freedom?
not we are giving with our choice. We want their behaviors to be according to our.
True.
We never try to understand that what going inside the child.
True.
we should, it's in my last show, maybe I spoke about that we as a parent, as a teacher, as a counselor, or as a behavior consultant, we should give them 3 choices of our own.
Right.
Okay.
It's a trick.
Okay.
3 choices, and he will choose one. And in papers, we like
Multiple
The
choice
MCQ.
questions.
multiple,
Yeah.
multiple choices, and we are happy there is a choice.
Right.
Although it's from the all the examiner or everything.
Exactly.
So that what the tricks parents learn to
Right.
apply on the child,
Right.
because whether he choose any, it's your choice basically.
Right. So I think we have seen this behavior a lot, especially with the young parents, especially when their child is growing up. He or she is 1, 2, or 3 years old. That he or she faces problem while communicating or expressing his or her emotions, right? So resultantly he's crying, or he's getting very displaying sort of a very nuisance sort of a behavior, right? Or shouting or acting very cranky when it comes to that. So and unfortunately, a lot of time what happens is that I think parents are the ones who reinforce such kind of negative behavior. So how do you think parents should deal with such kind of emotional outbursts which their kids are displaying, and what is the right sort of the response which they should give it to their kids?
Okay, we never take them out.
Right.
Nowadays,
That's true.
na?
That's true.
We should take them out for some open places like
Right.
park. Let them shout.
Right.
Let them cry.
Right.
1 hour, 2 hour,
Right.
3 hours.
Right.
So you will ignore and let them do the child. That's a training. That's how we train parents.
Right.
They don't because a big thing is that ना लोग क्या कहेंगे
Right.
हमें
right.
parties में
तमाशे कर रहा है,
हाँ जी
right.
जी जी फिर वो mother is saying इसको नींद आ रही है.
Yeah.
She tried to
भूख लग रही है, नींद आ रही है.
yes, she tried to hide, but inside.
Don't say that, yeah. You're telling everybody that it's the lamest excuse the mother can make when their baby is crying.
And, but no problem.
Cranky हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है भाई ये नहीं पता चलता. Yeah, yeah, please.
Yes. So the best how we train is that we give them targets,
Yeah.
Right.
objective. They take them to the open places, parks, and let them do what they want.
Right. Right.
There a time will come that he or she will stop, because ignorance is the best solution to this kind of behavior. And we should also, mother should also plan something or ask a consultant for a to unlearn this behavior. She must know some other, replace the
Alternative
give alternative
behaviors.
behavior
Right,
for
right.
that.
Exactly. And in addition to that, I wanted to ask you this because you would be surprised that I actually have a niece who, alhamdulillah, one day, we
Right.
went out for shopping, and she's very stubborn. So she was, I think, 7 or 8 years old then.
Right.
She started crying when we were in the shopping mall. It took us 2 hours to drive to that shopping mall. On the way back, she was crying. While crying, she fell asleep. She slept for another 2 hours, and then when she woke up, she started crying again. Because she remembered that as well. So I don't know whether it's going to be a very brilliant idea for the parents to let their children cry, or whatever, or however they can help. But now what I want to know is that, since you said that the parents really need to give them 3 options. Now imagine that once again we are trying to instill the kind of behavior we want to see in our kid, rather than letting them naturally nurture themselves too as well. Why do you think it is always important for the parents to give them choices, rather let them be who they want to be, let them be however they want to grow up to be as well. And I think that's the nature's way as well.
Yes.
And this is something which I'm against, that why do parents actually have to impose their mindset onto their child too as well? So do you stand with it? And if you stand with it, how do you think that the parents really need to control this authoritative behavior?
No, I do not stand with that. That's what I'm trying to tell, and I always give sessions to the parents as well, because the point again come to that the childhood, they want to do everything.
Yeah.
They don't want to give freedom. So how can you say that when he is grown up, he learned?
Right.
So
True.
same thing. We are trying to force our behaviors from the childhood.
Right. Right.
He should sit like what we say. He should talk like that.
Or
he
the way our parents behaved with us.
With us,
So
but,
we will try
yeah,
to do
yeah.
the same with our kids too.
Right.
We should give them freedom.
Okay.
Because we could not find out the real problem or real core issue in the child unless we give the freedom.
All right.
He or she will hide.
Very sorry, I'm going to give you a very real life example. So imagine, there are a couple of guests, they were at our place just last night.
Right.
So my daughter, who's alhamdulillah 2.5 years old, she came up and she wanted to pour the curry by herself. Now imagine, you know, she cannot even hold the spoon right. How can she pour the curry? Why do you want me to give her freedom? I cannot, because I know that she's going to spill it all over. There are guests around. There should be a better day or a better time to do this. But at that time, I was not able to give her freedom.
Yeah.
So then, how do you think that we should deal with such
Yes,
situations?
Shahzad, the point is that we always want to solve the problem when it happens
Okay.
in front of the guests, but we should train them, we should give them when
Okay, so you know what happens is, like Shahzad mentioned, you know, especially when guests are coming in, and you know, children are creating so much nuisance. For example, there are a lot of crystals, you know, they are displayed on the table, etc. So kids come and you know they are fingering this thing or that thing, and then you know that's really embarrassment. How do we train a kid and you know tell him that you know you should not do this thing, because you know a guest might not be displaying it, but you know inside they might be you know minding this thing a lot, that you know
Yes,
they're
it's true.
fingering it. Or
listen,
And then the little elder ones will take advantage of the guest too as well and say all of those things. They wanted to speak about their parents.
parents, yes.
Banda कहता,
Very
"कानों
true.
में ये-"
Listen, when I am not teaching my son to don't you know when we are alone,
Right.
and my son is laying down on sofa,
Right.
so he's laying down. I'm not saying anything now.
Yeah.
Right.
When the guests are coming, I say, don't do this, don't do this. That's what we need to.
Oh, yeah.
We need, of course,
Yeah.
when I'm alone, I have to say, no, it's not a bed.
So when you start to say it in front of people, that's
They-
when they start to do it too.
Too.
That's what you're
That-
saying. Okay,
yes.
okay, okay.
Right.
They get because
Just act as if nothing's happening.
because he can shout. You
Right.
can't in front
Right.
of the guests.
And the situation might spiral out of the hand.
Yes.
So Shahzad, you know, there is a very interesting fact about the ma'am, is that you know she is also a graduate of NCA, and you know she has been you know dealing with the fine arts and the arts and whatnot. So and she told me that there is a sort of you know an integration or the
Yes.
what do you call intersection between the sensory integration and the arts, right? So do you want to explain it? You know, how did you venture into the you know fine arts and especially you are a behavior consultant?
Basically, it's my own you know choice.
Right.
I think by birth I'm an artist, so
Right.
but I want to have a degree in that. That's why, and
Right.
it's very helpful for me in my field. Like instead of buying the toys,
Right.
which maybe they are just for the child play for 1, 2, 3 days, and if we find that we have some issues with our child, we can buy the proper equipments like fiber shower, moon boxes.
Right.
These all are the toys for which are very helpful for behavior
Right. Right.
control and all that. And I'm working on a project for blind, visual impaired, so they should
Right.
also have the flavor of color
Right.
Okay.
like that. And my next upcoming project is for visual impaired. I'm going to teach them the painting,
Right.
different colors,
Right.
and start using different strategies.
Right.
But of course, their visual sense is not there, na? So we will try to use the tactile and auditory.
Right.
Wow.
Lovely.
So,
That's-
you know, even with the tactile, do you think that they can start to sense whether which color it is with the
Yeah.
texture?
Yes, no, we will
Really?
try to. We will try a
Wow.
level, but like for the at least in future they will who will get trained from me. Maybe many more people are doing such things.
Right.
That we will give them leaf in their hand, and then we will sound green color, green, like this.
Okay.
Oh, lovely.
And painting is like that. We are going to dip their hands in the paint and
Right.
on the pots or whatever, and with you know measurements of braille
Right.
inside that we will give them the training.
Okay.
Okay, that's very lovely, and I do feel that you know people who have neurodiversity, they are more into you know very artistic sort of. They have this sort of proclivities, and we would find a lot of artists in the past who had a really big name, and they had you know they were differently able when it comes to that. And so I really wanted to ask you this question, and there was a lot of criticism on the Sesame Street, which is you know a very sort of creative program for the kids. Back in the US in the 90s, it started then because they advocated for the inclusivity, but they said that you know neurodiverse people should be separated from the neurotypical people. Do you support this assertion, you know, or do you feel that you know because in the end, you know, when they come to the real world, they have to live side by side with the neurotypical one and the neurodiverse one. So what sort of suggestion would you give, you know, when it comes to dealing with the neurodiverse people?
No, I'm against that. I have a branch in Sialkot from 5 years,
Right.
and we are very successful in inclusion.
Right.
It's supportive for both,
Right.
Wow.
because it's not the matter that a person suffering from some issues,
Right.
he or she cannot deal we or also need to learn how we should deal with them.
Right.
So inclusion is the best solution
Right.
for that. Not for I say like that if they are in classroom or they are learning all the time, because the person suffering needs a little bit more time.
Right.
But we should give them chance to
But not
understand it.
everyone is sensitive to their needs. You know, is that the case? So
Yes,
right.
yes.
So when they're not sensitive, so they might not be, you know, that much be able to, you know, help them or you know, assist them in their daily activities when it comes to that. So you know, how would you defend this point when it comes to that?
No, we need to learn both of them
Right.
because they should understand that what is why this he is suffering, why he or she
Right.
is more sensitive than us.
Right.
Unless we don't know, we cannot, you know, both sides.
Right.
Because the sensitive person is having issue.
Right.
The person who is not sensitive, he also should learn
Right.
why this behavior, why
Right.
he
And how
or
to
she-
accommodate those behaviors too as well. I think that's very
Yes.
important too
Yes.
as well. Well,
Both.
thank you very much, Dr. Saiba, for being with us. Lovely to
Thank
be in conversation with you.
Right.
And thank you very much for what you're doing too as well, you know,
Thank you so
because,
much.
you know, you're looking after all of those people who really need such people who are trained, who are skilled, and who really are
Right.
able to give them, you know, how to, you know, live life, how to have
Right.
those skills which are important to live life and to be who you actually want to be. With that,
Right.
we're actually heading out towards a short break when you guys will come back. Since obviously we just celebrated 75 years of independence of Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's something which we will be discussing in the next segment as well. Don't go anywhere. Good morning.
The ancient city of Taxila is the heart of stonework in Pakistan. This art, which has been preserved and practiced for centuries, can be seen on many major landmarks of the country. Notably, the Pietra Dura work in the Lahore Fort's Sheesh Mahal. These stone products take days to complete and require immense precision and skill from the craftsmen. The final products are perfect for souvenirs, gifts and decoration pieces, each depicting the richness of Pakistani culture at its best. Camel skin and ivory craft are trademarks of Multan's handicraft repertoire. Camel skin is cleaned, dried and mounted onto molds which can be of any shape desired. Multicolored lacquer painting is then used to ornament the molds, which in the end bear a Mughal or Persian feel. Ivory is crafted into pens, chess sets, jewelry and other accessories such as keychains by the expert craftsmen. Such detailed work, while being extravagant, is indeed a feat to achieve, and craftsmen of Multan produce beauty with their work which is worthy of global admiration. The enchanting arts and crafts of Pakistan.
ओ मोदान padana, abudana padana, haidana padana, danana, bo do tilagane bonana, bo do tilagane bonana, bo ajata fakkane tanana, bo ajata fakkane vamana, bo ji sakana, he se kumara vyakana, bo ji mandari, bar each kavakanto andari, bo ji sumaro kapakwaja khuda se do. Ariel Khatimo Kamalia Moar Kerebo. Jiva Taramire Malut. Oh, Kallo Watania Khanana, Abu Kallo Watania Khanana, Dadakte Baluchistanana. दातख्ते बलोचिस्तानना बरदीर हुरत गुदुरानना हो नूरिया नसीर खानना हे सबका वतन की न जानना हो कच्ची खुरासान वाह 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 अरबोई मरजान वाह 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 नूरी नसीर जान वाह 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 चिल्तन शाशान वाह 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 मूलो बोलान वाह 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 रास को रक्षान वाह 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 कोई सुलेमान वाह 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 तख्त सुलेमान वाह 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 अरबोई मरजान वाह 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 नूरी नसीर जान वाह 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 चिल्तन शाशान वाह 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 मूलो बोलान वाह 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 रास को रक्षान वाह 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 कोई सुलेमान वाह 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 कल्लो वतने खानना अबू कल्लो वतने खानना वो जी साकना ले जयू बल बल जाकना वो जी मंदरी बारी की कवा कंतो अंतरी वो जी सुमरो कपख्वाज खुदा से जो जीवा तरा Ariel Khatimo Kamalia Moar Kerebo.
Hey, you guys are still here. Thank you very much for staying tuned to PTV World. You watching World this morning alongside Ms. Haja Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. Earlier, we were in conversation with Dr. Saiba. We were talking about different behaviors and how we really can modify, for not our betterment, but for the betterment of our future generations. But now, as I before mentioned, that, ladies and gentlemen, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, alhamdulillah, turned 75 years old, and that too on this 14th of August 2022. And in line of that, what we're trying to do over here at PTV is that we are trying to highlight, all of that, what the future generations want to do and the way they want to contribute towards the prosperity of the nation, may it be the economic prosperity or may it be the prosperity of the society amongst each others as well. So Hajra wanted to add over here, so I think I'll give her the cue.
I think it's lovely that, how PTV always strives to bring on the voice of the youth, because I do feel that it's really important to, have the youth inclusivity when it comes to that, because they have different ideas, they are young, and then they are the one, who are leading actually the innovation, especially when it comes to the entrepreneurship and whatnot. So talking about the arts, I think it is one of the best way to project the softer image of the Pakistan, and it's not just projecting the softer image of the Pakistan. Also, earlier on, our behavioral consultant, she also mentioned that how art can help out a lot of different people, expressing themselves, expressing their emotions, their behavior, and it's lovely, that I think that there's that sort of general acceptability which is coming on in our society, where people are getting away from, acha, you have to be doctor or the engineer because this field pays good. People are, I think there's a broader receptibility about the arts and the artists and the designing and whatnot. So I do feel that, in order, in line with our, the policy and the vision of giving voice to the young people of Pakistan, we have two lovely, young ladies, who are sitting in the studio, and we really wanted to talk about their field which is related to the fashion designing, which is related to the textile designing. And I think that Shahzad was mentioning, before going on to the break, that it is one of the field, where Pakistan is exporting a lot. And I think, especially when it comes to the cotton, I think we have one of the best cotton in the world, right? And when it comes
and then it comes down to bales and how we design and how
Right.
we make things and then export it as well. And
Right.
I think that
And
when we
playing
talk
with
about all
colours,
those
yeah.
cotton exports as
Right.
well, that's where we kind of tend to balance the trade deficit for the country too
Right.
as well.
Right.
So let's get started with that, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
We're lucky that we've been joined by somebody who happens to be a student of fashion designing and textile designing. She is Miss Maram Asjad. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm fine.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And alongside her, we are lucky that we've been joined by her teacher, instructor. Ladies and gentlemen, she happens to be Ms. Zara Munawwar, and she happens to be an instructor for textile and fashion designing as well. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, I'm good and thank you for having us
Thank you
here.
very much for
Right.
joining us. So, how
Lovely.
do we refer to you? Do we refer to you as ma'am, teacher,
It's up
instructor?
I think, so starting with the instructor first, because, we give a lot of respect to the teachers first. So there is a lot of, especially considering the fact that there is a climate change going on, and there are a lot of, innovative ways coming up to combat that. And it had the concept, the philosophy has also seeped into the textile designing and the fashion industry too, where there's a lot of focus on, what do you call it, eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly, yeah.
Yeah.
So
apparel.
there is always like option for sustainable fashion.
Right.
Like you don't have to design something from scratch.
Right.
You can just use like old clothes or old
Right.
fabric,
Right.
and you can construct something
And-
different from that. You
Yeah.
can
Right.
design different things.
Right, lovely. And there are a lot of, terms coming up. So, my sister was telling me that, you can donate your pre-loved clothes to this
Yeah,
particular.
we,
And I was like,
we
what
call
is
like
pre-loved?
thrift clothes
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
thrift accessories
Right.
and shoes and everything.
Pre-loved is basically,
Right.
they've coined a newer term so that
For the
people
old
do
clothes.
not get the same image of used
Used,
objects
yes,
too
yes,
as well.
yes.
So I think it's good. People
Right.
really need to use that too as well. And Levi's actually came up with
Right.
this initiative where plastic was converted into jeans.
That's true.
So I think it's
Right.
great.
And
But
it's called upcycling
something,
fashion,
yes,
something like that.
something
right?
of that sort too as
Right.
well. But very quickly, we're going to move on to your student now as well. So why did you pick up on fashion designing? Why do you think that you could do better in it?
Like I love fashion designing. I love fashion basically
Okay.
to style myself, to design something, to make something creative from
Yep.
scratch. I do not want to follow other designers or something like that. And I wanted to do it from a very long time, but my family didn't allow it. So
Okay.
I originally I'm a microbiologist.
Really?
I did microbiology.
Wow.
But now after marriage, my husband supported me, and so I came
doing
back
fashion
to
designing?
I came back to what I love.
But don't you
So-
think that microbiology might have paid you a little more than what you're doing now?
But I was not
You
so
were
much
not
into
happy.
it, and so that's why my interest was not in that field. So then I just opted for.
First of all, I really need to praise your husband over here, bro. You're doing a great job. What's his name?
Muhammad.
Muhammad, you're doing a great job that you're trying to fulfill her dreams, and I think that's what you really took the vow for too as well. So
Right.
wonderful, yeah. I think all of those husbands who are doing
Right.
that are tribute to you guys too as well.
Right.
So then, now how do you think that you're going to contribute towards the Pakistan's fashion scene?
I have seen all the designers of Pakistan. They are all into bridal couture and bridal collections and all those.
शादी होती बहुत है ना हमारे यहाँ.
जो भी है, but all those designs,
Yeah.
I want to I want to have something different. I was talking even yesterday to my other teachers as well. They were
See, she's
trying-
got some other teachers she's talking to as well, ma'am.
She was talking in front of me, so I was there.
Otherwise, it would have been a problem. All right, highlight it. Yeah, please go.
Even
on.
if she was
Still
present,
student.
I was talking to them
Okay.
basically, she and other instructors. They were planning something of a program and something like that, and another student was talking to take inspiration from the designers in Pakistan, and I was like, no, I want to be something other than these bridal collections or something like that, and I want to have this so that they even wo bhi approve ho jaye, they get approved too.
So let's sort it out now. Let's sort it out. So do you want to be something like LV, Gucci, Ferragamo? Probably there's so many brands. There's Polo,
I just want
Ralph
to have
Lauren.
a name that everyone remembers.
Every-
It's her brand and it's
Okay.
her collection, and that's
So
something
is it going to be
different.
for men or women only?
For both.
For both?
Yeah,
All
for
right.
Why don't you focus on the kids' clothing? Because I do feel there's a lot of gap in that, right? And the ones that they're
True.
so expensive.
Maybe
you know.
in some time, maybe I just include those two.
Yeah,
Maybe
we are
I
still
like.
lacking in children wear and
Yes.
children
That's
garments.
why I asked that. Okay, so I really wanted to throw this question to both
That's a
of
good
you.
question, though.
So I wanted to ask that, something that is trendy does not always, look good on your body types, right?
Yes.
But it's in the fashion, right? So what exactly is the fashion? Is it something, which is trendy? Or is it something, which suits your body type?
Or is
So
it
how-
something which is just simply expensive?
No,
Yeah.
it's not something
Right.
that's simply expensive. Fashion is something that suits your body, that suits your style, in which you are comfortable.
Right.
And it does not matter if it's like way too expensive, or
Yeah.
it's
Right.
just, even if you get something of like 100 rupees or 50
Right.
rupees and you
needs to
wear
look
it
good.
and it suits you, it's fashion.
So I think fashion for me is, other than this work, all I'm going to wear, throughout the day is probably PJs or a
Right.
T-shirt.
Right.
But nobody actually calls me fashionable then. They're like, challe ban ke ghumte rehte, all of that. But, I think I'm going to go back to where Hajra actually asked about children too as well, that, how their fashion scene is not over here.
Right.
Because when we talk about Burberry and all of these amazing brands, they always focus on kids
Focus
too.
on kids wear. Yeah.
Now, what I have seen is that I've been to, a lot of my friends are fashion designers too. I've seen their work, and most of the time, even while they were studying, I've never seen any project that they have done on kids
On
too as
kids
well. So
wear,
it's the curriculum which does not teaches us, because the kids won't be paying us any money. I think there needs to be a business model to it too as well. So you as an instructor,
No, I think they do pay for children. Like
Right.
nowadays, parents do pay for children. Like
तो
there's
कहते हैं, इनको क्या पता चल रहा है, बना दो.
no, there are specific like garments,
चार size
theme-based
बड़ा.
garments, costumes.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
That's true.
slowly we are emerging,
The mothers are emerging.
emerging.
मुझे
Yeah.
इसकी
Right.
बर्थडे करनी है, बड़ी स्पेशल सी
Yeah.
बर्थडे करनी है.
Right.
बंदा कहता है, भाई
now
इसको
like-
क्या पता बेचारे को यार.
Now slowly, gradually, we are putting efforts in children wear also.
Exactly. I think that's good. But
That's
when
good,
we
yeah.
talk about children wear and when we talk about fashion most of the time is not breathable for me. I'm sorry, but I'm talking about
Yeah,
myself.
it is.
Most of the time
sometimes.
they give you stuff which is just so hard to carry, and you're always so worried about whether it's not going to torn from anywhere else too as well. But with kids, we cannot do the same. So when we talk about kids fashion, it really needs to be relaxed, needs to give them more space to
Yeah,
breathe,
we
to
have
play.
to keep like those things in my
Yeah.
mind.
So have you started to plug it when we talk about, the curriculum we have for fashion designing?
I think it depends upon categories. Like for kids, we have to be like extra careful
Okay.
because obviously the fabric should be smooth,
True.
not to
Rashes
give like
ना हो जाए.
rashes. जी बिल्कुल. The children should be like comfortable in those.
Look,
Right.
that's
And
good.
that
That's
too.
good. But what I'm trying to ask is that when you instruct, when you're teaching your the kids, inside the university, do you actually have courses which move around kids' fashion wear,
Lovely question.
To a very less extent.
or
They
probably
actually depend
Yeah.
on students. Like
Okay.
if I'm talking about myself, like I am designing some themes. I'm
Yeah.
working on some themes which include children wear.
Okay.
Right.
So it all depends on students' choice, what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If they
like-
want to like opt for children wear, then the instructors are there to like
Okay.
guide them. If they're not, then
because these days mothers and daughters, they're matching,
It's
sons
about
and
their
fathers are
love,
matching.
yeah.
You know,
There,
everybody-
there are basically categories. You have to pick one, either men wear, female wear, or
Yeah.
kids wear. So you can pick.
I think we need
according
to actually
your-
have a wear which everybody can wear. Probably the same thing is available for men, the same thing is available for women, and
women
the
and
same
for
thing is
same thing
available
for
for their
kids.
kids too as well. I think it'll just make it simpler for all of us. It feels like that you're wearing a uniform and you're going to school together. I think it's wonderful. But how is the fashion scene? So now alhamdulillah that you're studying, you're working towards it. How do you imagine to be a designer now? First of all, what will be your marketing strategy, and how do you think it will help the country prosper?
I know it will take time, so I'm like thinking of like baby steps. So
Yeah.
first I want, if I like get affiliated with some brand, if I get the opportunity, if I got so lucky,
Inshallah.
if they like they think seeing my portfolio or seeing my
Don't write
designs and my-
microbiologist.
even I'm working on a theme, and I've like given the theme name microbiology.
Wow.
And I'm
Yeah,
designing-
she is like working on same field. She's fusing
Integrating both
both
of
of
them.
them, yeah.
like I want I told her that I want to make some things that like everybody knows that okay, I'm a microbiologist and I'm fused
Probably
it with
living
my-
clothes in days to come, right?
Right.
So like I'm working on that, and then after that, if I get like a lot of money and investment
From your husband again?
from my
Mohammed,
husband,
be ready. That's not where it ends.
husband, even like if myself, like I do want to open an online page, as it's like online market everywhere.
Right.
So then probably yes, my own brand, my own collection.
But you know, there's so much competition in the, I think, fashion industry, because there's so many brands, and you know, there are high street end brands too, there are low, price brands too. But it's really difficult to, you know, have your own voice in, you know, such a sea of, you know, brands, especially.
But
when it
I
comes-
think like with all of the brands present like now, there is like somewhere a touch of copy in each of them.
That's
the
true.
designs are copied, the
When
the
you're
colors
talking
are
about Zara, Zara copies almost every other brand internationally successful, you know, all over the
I
world, which
think
is why it
this
suits us.
This is the case with a lot of brands. I
Yeah.
think
there
not
were
just
even
Zara.
cases like on
Right.
most of the famous designers, like 1 or 2 cases in which they were like they were accused of copying some
Right.
All of the
other
famous designers'
Go to
designs are
Italy and-
copied by our own local market.
But now I have a very simple question, and this is something which I've observed, you know, by being a part of this industry, because a lot of times we have to move around with wardrobes, designers coming in, you know, looks being finalized. What I've seen is that people who've progressed, you know, as designers and then now have their own factories, I think their manufacturing standard has gone up. But people who are still relying on workforce, and that too from humans, obviously, you know, so one fine day you get that jacket out, which was too expensive because it was handmade, the
Right.
button starts to fall off, the zip's not in place. You know, so that quality, do you think that it really needs to be induced while we are teaching those students as well? Because I've never seen the emphasis on quality. I think the emphasis now in Pakistan has been on quantity too as well, where women going on to, you know, whenever the launch is for patani summer or I don't know, you know, for every winter they have a collection. So the aunties, you know, collecting all of the
market.
yeah, like this, as if, you know, they're never going to get another clothes too as well.
No, I think we are like getting brand conscious
A lot.
a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
And
We
Society
really
is
need
now
to admit
brand
it. I
conscious.
think it's about time that we admit it, that, you know, this is
we
the
do
way of
admit,
life.
like we are brand conscious. We don't look at the price. We just want
Yeah.
a brand.
That,
That's
that
it.
is, you know, why I'm
I mean,
against
there's
the
a debate too as
consumerism.
well, Haja. There's
Even
a
if
debate
in
too.
our families, if I buy something from some local bazaar, but
Right.
like it's good, they will first ask, where did you buy it from? From local bazaar or like from some
So
brand?
I
And
think if I would be you, I would be very vocal about it, that I bought it from the local bazaar. It's just about how you carry yourself, and
True.
this is what makes you, I mean, stand out when
Yeah,
it comes
and
to...
I'm going to give that confidence to people too as well.
Right.
So now imagine, I think that the only most expensive
Right.
T-shirt I have in my wardrobe is
Right.
probably somewhere around 200,000 rupees,
Okay.
but I didn't buy it.
Okay.
You know, Mr. Rashid Latif gave it to me. He's a star cricketer, he could do it. Now, from top to bottom, I'm going to make it very simpler for you.
Right.
I got this piece of cloth from Russia in Nashera.
Okay.
You know, the piece of cloth was
Okay.
3,500 rupees.
Lovely.
I got it stitched from a very good person. That's Wazir Tailor in Blue area.
Okay.
And then he did a massive job.
So when is the next time you're going again to Russia Kai?
You know, so I've got like 4 new suits now.
Right.
So inshallah, probably next time. Now with the
Right.
shoes, imagine, so I was looking online that the simplest and the most thakawa material, you know, most rubbish material, all was somewhat around 17,000 to 25,000.
Right.
So my chachu's got a shop in Rawalpindi, got them
Right.
handmade for 10,000 rupees, and that was 2 shoes too as well.
Lovely.
So I think that's how you really need to go about life. So whatever suits
Right.
you
Right.
will surely be your fashion. So
Right.
please make sure that it's not about spending, it's
Right.
about being wise while spending.
Right.
Fashion is something you are comfortable with.
Right.
It's not like this, you have to go with the trend.
Exactly. But thank you very much for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. Continue to do some great work as well. Make Pakistan proud for everybody who's out there. Till the next time, look after yourselves. Be wise while you spend money and be fashionable. Nobody's stopping you to do so. And even if you have the money, make sure that you spend it all.
Right. That's a lovely message that Shahzad gave. So until next time, it's a goodbye.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.